Hey there, here's a quick note before we begin. You can support the podcast by downloading, sharing, or checking with my favorite hiking gear at justhyke.com. Let's hit the trail. Hey guys, welcome to the Just Hike podcast, where we talk all things hiking, adventure, and building strength and confidence and endurance on and off the trail. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to Monica Rose. Monica is a certified ultra training, ultra running, and nutrition endurance coach who specializes in helping athletes and adventurers push their limits, whether that's on the trail, in a race, or in life. Now, hiking is just like trail running. It requires endurance, especially when you're stepping into more challenging experiences. Some hikers even make the leap into ultra events. And let me tell you, these events are not only epic, but they're also fun, with trail stations stocked with everything from bacon to quesadillas. You heard that right. Bacon and quesadillas on the trail. After chatting with Monica, I honestly feel I could sign up for a 100-mile event myself. With the right training and mindset strategies, of course. Monica brings incredible insight into how nutrition and mental strength are just as important as physical training when it comes to long-distance success. So grab your hiking boots, maybe even a quesadilla, and get ready to be inspired. Let's dive into my conversation with Monica Rose, and you're not going to want to miss this one. Monica, tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and what got you into trail running and then eventually doing ultra distance running.
So I know when we were talking about this, funny story here. I talk a little bit about it in my book. I've been running for 13 plus years, the last 7 here in the trail and ultra community. And back then, that runner didn't know what trails was. And when someone brought it up to me, I was like, I'm not doing trails. I can't do trails. I used to have some really severe back issues. So was really content, very happy with running on the concrete. Had no idea what a training plan was, let alone running consistently, or I just knew nothing of that. I just was a busy single mom. And so I would try to go run on my own time when I could. And then kind of fast forward, found some different run groups. Overall background, I spent 16 years in family law, opened up a cleaning company so I could better take care of my son who's special needs. He's 29. Through life and meeting different people, I've always been an ambassador for different companies, whether it was Honey Stinger or just because I love running. Running can be expensive. So I was finding these cool ways for products that I like to use where I could earn some discounts. And it was just kind of through this transition of life and meeting people that led to meeting other people and getting into some of these ambassadorship programs that one of my running mates, Meg Eckert, who was also an ambassador for Honey Stinger at that time. I think she's an athlete for them now. I had saw on her Facebook page her running on trails, and I had become a little bit bored with the marathon. I just felt like I just kind of reached what I wanted to in on the road running, and I wanted something different. And so she's like, I sent her a message just like, what is this trail stuff? It's like, what is that? How do you do that? Because I didn't know anything about it other than seeing some photos and some videos. And she's, gave me some information on it. And I was like, well, let's try it. So I opted for a 50K distance, which is 30-ish miles, because I was like, if I can do a marathon, I can do the 50K, right? It's another 6 miles.
Right. In
And
theory.
in theory. And so I was like, which one would you suggest? And she was an athlete for a trot at that time. And she's like, you should sign up for Habanero. That's how I got started in Habanero.
Oh
And
my goodness.
so I signed up for it. I didn't look at the time because my road brain was like, oh, it's going to be 7 a.m. start because that's when road races are. They're generally on Sunday and start at 7. And my husband was laughing. He's like, did you look at the start time? And I was like, no, it should be 7. He's like, no, 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 babe. He's like, it's at 12 noon. I was like, so Yeah, so that's kind of like the quick synopsis is how I went from road into trail. And I really think that you do one trail race, regardless of the distance, even if it's a small distance, and you see that it's such a different community of people that you're like, these are my people. This is where I want to be. And so it just made sense that at some point, I didn't even realize it. I just kind of made a shift from road to trail completely.
I did one trail run. I did the Rocky Raccoon. I
Love
did the
that one.
50K, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I've been a hiker for several years now. Not a big runner, but really only 5Ks. I think the longest distance I did was maybe a half marathon,
Yeah.
and that was on road. And then a friend of mine said, "Hey, we should do a trail run. Let's do this one." And so we did the Rocky Raccoon, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. When I do a trail run, it's a combination of jogging and then a lot of hiking, right? Jogging, hiking, jogging, hiking. So it's just basically a fast paced hike. But I think for you, being an ultra marathoner, I envision you doing a lot more running than what I do.
Well, that's the beauty of trails and ultras is that you can 100% like walk the whole distance. My friend Lisa Decker, I love what she did last year at Brazos because she showed that you could absolutely power walk 100 miles, no running, and still finish and not be up on top of the clock. A lot of people, I think they hear a certain mileage and their brain just kind of trips over that number. They're like, oh, I can't do that. That's not me. And I don't think they realize that that really is what ultra running is, or what the ultra marathon world is, that it's this beauty. You have the elites that are out there primarily running. But if you look at some of the courses that they're on, like UTMB was just held this weekend, there are parts of that course where it's so steep that what are they doing? They are power hiking up, or they are power
Right.
hiking down. I think people would be really surprised. And I always encourage people to, you know, if you've never ran a day in your life, come out and volunteer. Just come out and volunteer an event and see. And I think it does a couple of things. It makes it less intimidating because they see that it's all backgrounds, it's all shapes and sizes and all different degrees of athleticism. You see the walkers, the runners, and so it makes it less intimidating on that part of it. But then there's such a different degree of how you can race too within the ultra community. So like the hourly events, right? Maybe your body can only do 13 miles. That's it. That's all it can physically do. One of these hourly events might be really great. There's technical courses, there's such a vast array of different ways to be in the trail and ultra marathon community that I think if people would give it a chance, they might just really surprise themselves with what they're capable of doing. And then like mentioned your hiking group. To me, hikers they're out there. They've got weight on. They're out there on the
I
trails. They're out
agree.
there in Yeah, they're
Uh-huh.
already up in Mother Nature, and so it's just a matter of changing out the shoes and the clothing, and then find your race and go for it out there. So
That's so great. I love what you said. If someone is curious and wants to try an ultra, whatever that distance is that they choose to be, go out there and volunteer because you're right. The people who participate in any of the events that are out there, they're all shapes and sizes and ages too. You have
yes,
people well into their 80s and 90s who are out there doing these events. And so someone who is, let's say, a middle-aged female would definitely fit in. You just have to have a little bit of courage to be able to say, yes, I'm going to at least try,
yeah.
right? I'm going to at least try to do it. And I love what you said about, go and volunteer. If you're really feeling intimidated about it, go and volunteer at one of the events and just see what people are like. And then you'll be convinced that you can fit in and you can do it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And like the age thing, I'm 49, and let me tell you something, it is quite humbling whether they're running or power walking when someone you're passed by someone in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s, and they still look super fresh. And you're like, I need some of that. I don't know what you have, but I would like some of that. So
Yes, yes. I would like to be you when I grow up. That's awesome. You mentioned that you have a book. Tell me about that.
So that book has been a work in progress. And while it does encompass some running, I didn't want it to be the typical runner's memoir or another book out there about here's the one, two, threes of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. I wanted both sides of the table, so non-runners and runners, to be able to open this book and garner something from it, some tidbit of life. So whether it's to go out there and finally do a trail race or an ultra marathon, or maybe there's something non-running in your life that you've wanted to do and you just haven't had the courage to do it, then maybe my vulnerability and my experience, both in the running world and taking the two and blending them together, because to me for me they coexist together very much. What you do on the trail, it feeds into your everyday as far as being bold, don't self-limit. And you might not do it perfectly the first time. First time might be a little bit messy, but you know what? You clean yourself up, you stand back up, you write your crown, and then you move forward. That's really what I'm hoping with this book, is that there's some laughs, there's some tears, but to me, it's this beautiful way of taking the two worlds, blending them together, and hoping that when a reader closes the book, that they feel like they've been on this journey. What can I do with where I am now? What is the thing that I've put off because I've thought there's got to be this perfect time before I can do it, or everything needs to be aligned just right, or I need to be a certain, just put them in the trash can. Put them in the trash can and let's just try it.
What's the name of the book? Is it published yet? Where can we
It's
find it?
it's not published yet. I'm hoping
Okay.
to have it all done by the end of December. I'm really excited. My oldest daughter, she's a graphic designer, so she's helping with the font, the art, and all of that good stuff. We will be publishing it through Amazon, and the name of it is Come Run With Me. So if you follow me on Instagram and you see a part of one of my hashtags is Come Run With Me, that's what that's in reference to, is that book.
Okay. So what inspired you to become a coach? And how is that journey paralleled with your own growth as an athlete?
So to be a coach probably started about 2 years ago here in the Woodlands. He's known as Coach Bill. He's in charge of the Vault group. I've always respected and admired how he did his programming. While his focus is road, he did coach some trail, or still does coach some trail. And while it was this same plan for all of his group, he also knew each of his runners individually, and he treated them individually. So even though there was this one group plan, nobody was treated as a group. And I always had respect for that. And it kind of, that's where the seed started right there, was seeing how everybody responded to him, to seeing his joy that he had from coaching, and then realizing too at the same time I wanted to do something more than just be an athlete. But I also recognized that I needed more experience, because if I was going to be a coach, I wanted my athlete to have the whole toolbox. I'll speak just to Texas. In our state, you don't have to have a certification to be a coach. It's
Mhm.
not required. It's great if you do. For me, it was a personal choice, so that I could come. If my athlete came to me, they were getting both experience and they were getting education, because to me, both of those are important. The education also helped to open my eyes as an athlete. I was like, oh, well, there's why some of those things didn't work out in that race. And now that makes perfect sense. The education also helps you. It was like when I was in law, they teach you in law, you really have to kind of reshape your brain so that you pragmatically go and work your cases effectively. To me, that's what certification does in conjunction with experience as a coach, is that you can bring this experience, but the education helps you to separate your personal out of it. So when an athlete comes to me, there's nothing cookie cutter about their training plan. It is custom tailored to what is currently going on with them at that time so that we can make them the most successful that they can become race day. And so it was a little bit of a journey to get the certification and to become a coach. I could have done it then if I wanted to, but I wanted that certification because I felt that my athletes deserved to have 100% of a coach, not part of a coach. And that's just my personal feelings. I don't think if somebody's listening to this, I'm not downing anybody that doesn't have a coaching certification. For me, it was just a personal choice.
For sure. So I have my personal training certification, and then I also have a few other certifications, stretch and flexibility, things like that. And I think the education portion is really important because I think if a coach has a lot of experience with a lot of different people and has had a good coach before them, then gosh, I don't know how I'm really going to say this. I think it's important to have some science behind what you're
Yes.
doing and that knowledge.
Yes,
Because
that
you're right, some of the stuff makes sense after you go through the training. And then other stuff is like, well, that doesn't make sense at all, so I'm not going to do it. But there's a reason why you're doing it out there.
no, that makes perfect sense. And that's why I chose UESCA, because UESCA does everything based on science, not the latest trends. When you go through their courses, they are very transparent. If research is still ongoing, they let you know that in the material that, hey, this research is not finalized, it's still ongoing, but they try to use only the research that has been finalized. So, and the other reason why I went with them is that your certifications with them, they're only depending on which one it is. So my nutrition is good for a year, then I have to recertify. Coaching is good for 2. And so that holds me to a higher standard, I think, both as a coach and as an athlete, to ensure that I'm keeping myself educated and I'm staying abreast of new research, especially where women are concerned.
A lot of the research, from what I've come to understand, is that a lot of the research is based on men.
Yes, it is.
And we're just starting now to learn more about women.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure. So what defines an ultra? Like, is there like a certain mileage where it's like anything after 30 miles is considered an ultra, or anything after a marathon, or what is the determination of an ultra?
So I think the general synopsis in the trail and ultra community is anything that is 30 miles or more. Is anything more than just a marathon. You talk to some people and they're like, well, I did 27, so technically that's more than a marathon. So that should consider it an ultra. But I think by and far, most people consider the 50K and up the start of the ultra distances.
Right. They can be all sorts of distances. It could be a
Yeah,
5 mile trail run. It doesn't have to be an ultra.
exactly. Yes.
Right. Now, you mentioned that you work with athletes. Do you consider anybody who comes to you an athlete, or is there like a definition of your ideal client?
So to me, when you're coaching, we have both the mental and the physical that we deal with. In my mind, you're an athlete. If you're out there, even if all you're doing is walking, you're an athlete. You're up, you're moving, you're doing the thing. And I think for some of the people that I coach, that shift of, oh, I'm not just Karen that works at the office. I am an athlete. Look at me. Look at what I'm doing. Look at my training plan. This is a little scary, a little hard, but I'm out here doing it. I like the term athlete over client over customer because to me, they're putting in the work and they're showing up. And so to me, that to me is a definition. It's loose. It's not the technical Webster definition, but in my mind, I see athlete.
I'm glad we talked about this because that's one thing that I'm passionate about is a lot of women in the hiking community, they're out there, they're doing a 5 to 7 mile hike, but then they try to do a 13-mile hike and then they don't understand why it was so difficult. And so I would like them to start to have that mindset shift from into the athlete world, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is like, you have to dial in your nutrition. You have to dial in you can't be drinking wine until midnight and then you get up at 6 in the morning and you try to do 13 miles. Like it's just, what your left hand is doing isn't the same as your right hand. We got to kind of have that shift in mindset. It's like, okay, I need to be able to be at my best to be able to do this hike, let's say. What do I need to do to be able to make myself better at that? So the question to you is, if someone wanted to be a better hiker and
Right.
to do some of the more, let's say, longer distance for them, like a longer distance for them might be going from 3 miles to 5 miles, and then a longer distance for someone else might be going from 5 miles to 10 or 13 miles. What advice would you give someone who wants to increase their distance?
So I think whether they're a runner or a hiker, both need different answers. If you're looking to go from 3 to 5 miles, it's the midweek work that has to be put in. And then on the weekend, if you're looking at 2 more miles, depending on the elevation. So if the elevation is more or less the same, and you're just looking to move from 3 to 5 miles, I think it's more up here than it really is physical. Sometimes it's a matter of turning off the watch so that you don't have a watch telling you that you're at mile 3 or you're at mile 4. And the mental part really comes in because, yeah, your feet are going to hurt a little bit. Your legs might feel a little bit more sore. But man, the mental break you get when you hit the 5 mile mark and you're like, well, that wasn't as hard as what I thought it was going to be. So when you're looking at that small distance, it's more mental because at the end of the day, it really is just 2 more miles. And 2 more miles really is walkable. It could be something as going out for 2.5 miles and then turning around and walking 2.5 miles back. So that's a really good mental strategy. If their brain is really hanging up on 5 miles, you go out for 2.5 miles and you turn around and you come back. Because guess what? You got to get back to your car, right?
You
Can't
got to
stay
get
out
back there
there.
somehow.
So
Yeah.
when you do that, you're seeing the same things as you're walking back to your car or running back to your car, but your brain also starts automatically going, oh, we're almost to the car. Oh, we're maybe about a mile out because it's already clicking away that we see these. And then you get back to your car and you're like, that was not so bad. I think if you're at like the 5 mile trying to get to the 13 mile, that is definitely more, that's vastly different. That definitely requires an increase of mileage during the week so that you build up both the mental and the physical and what we call time on our feet. And then it's a gradual process on the weekend. So you might have, if you're already at 5 miles for you, maybe it's a 4 week progression, right? So you do your 5 miles, then the next weekend you increase it up to 8 miles. And the following weekend, you go back down to the 5, and then you bump it up to the 10, and then you have your 13. And then there's the work that you have during the week so that you're building up the muscles and the time on the feet so that when you hit your 13, you're not bouncing off the wall and your body's going, what are you doing?
You've never done 13 miles in your life. What are you
Right.
doing? Are you crazy?
And the nutrition also comes into that as well. So you have to be, when you're talking 2 miles, you should always be diligent with your diet, especially women who are still on their cycles, especially women who are peri or menopausal, because your body is like, all the signals. It doesn't know what is broken, or it thinks something's broken and nothing is broken. It just knows it just needs more. The higher up you go, the more you really want to start dialing in on that nutrition so that it's like, do you want to put water in your gas tank, or do you want to put real gas in your gas tank? So as the mileage increases, you want the real gas. And so that, again, that one-to-one conversation with an athlete is so super critical, so you can find out from them, do they have any, health problems, food allergies, anything that might influence that. Maybe they have a history of eating disorder. And if they do, then it's not my place to give the nutritional advice. Then I need to work with a registered sports dietitian so that we can ensure that old habits from the past don't creep into the training plan and then create a problem when they're out there on the trail trying to increase their mileage. So as a coach, you have to know when to bring in outside resources to help your athlete, help them meet their goal.
Nice. I like that. For someone who is, let's say, doing their first trail run, or let's relate this to hiking. So coming up, there's the Mammoth March.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
hike in February. They're holding it. Well, apparently there's several all over the country, but the one that's popular for our area is over at Dinosaur Valley State Park, and it's in February. So it's 26 miles or thereabouts, I think. And so, what would you recommend for people to do to help prepare them for something like that, an event like that, physically and nutritionally? But let's say general advice without going into too much detail, a reasonably healthy person, what would you generally say to them?
So I first and foremost, when it comes to trail racing, and this is where consulting with a coach would help, I would encourage everyone to go to the races page and look at the race info, because you're going to find, is there aid stations on course or not? What is my elevation? I know from Dino Valley, it's rocky. And
Mm-hmm.
she's got some vert out there. So all those descriptions will be in the race information. And you want to know what the elevation is, what the terrain underneath your feet is going to be, so that when you're getting ready for it, walking or running, you know what to be training on. You don't want to be doing all your miles on the road and then you get out there and it's like somebody just let a bunch of kids loose with Legos and now you got to walk on that. It's super important that when you're looking at the race you're wanting to do, and we'll just keep Mammoth as the example, that you see what the elevation is going to be, what is the terrain going to be. Sometimes some directors are getting really good about on Strava or Garmin, they'll go out and do the loop themselves. And that information is so critical because then you can actually pull up like this map so you can kind of see the different elevations and such. They're getting really good with letting you know about how long it should take, not for an elite, but for average people like you and me. How long should it take you to do that 26 miles? Knowing what I know of Dino Valley, if you're out there walking for 26 miles, it's rocky, it's hilly. I suspect that a finish time could be anywhere, depending on the strength and the experience of the hiker. It could be anything from 6 hours to, say, 8 to 9 hours, just depending on the experience and the mobility of that individual. And then another reason why people need to look at the course is that not all trails allow poles. They don't want the trails damaged by the trekking poles. I know Dinosaur Valley allows it, but again, you want that training because you don't want to show up never using poles and then you go to stick the poles in the ground and they catch just right in a rock and now there you are with medical emergency. So that's another reason why to look at the race information, is because I know hikers by and large they love their poles, but you've got to make sure that the trail will allow Barkley doesn't allow for poles. There's some other races here in the United States, they don't want trekking poles on the trails.
Interesting. Okay.
So, and then when you're dealing with the marathon, I think if you have experience, I think you can reasonably train safely in about 4 months. If you're on the lesser side of experience, I would say 5. If you're brand new, never done it, I would say 6 months. And why 6 months versus 4 months? Because that first month, you're really building your base, strength, mobility. If you don't have a good foundation to begin with, then it's going to have little cracks in it. And so as you try to progress through increasing your mileage, you're going to be more prone to injury. You're going to be prone to frustration. There's just a myriad of different things that you're going to run into. And I think even if you're experienced, the 4 months, you still need to do an honest check-in with yourself and go, okay, where am I at physically? Are my feet good? Is my biomechanic good? And then on the nutrition, on a broad answer, some of the general rules to look at is that, plant-based, not meaning vegan, but you just want to go more plant-based. Chicken thigh has more protein in it because it's a dark meat. Unless you're trying to lose weight or maintain weight, you really don't have to stick with the chicken breast because that's, going to help you maintain that weight. Fish is always really good. Some women, some men, but more women who are still on their cycle, maybe their peri or menopause, tend to run low iron. Always check with your doctor. So some of that can be controlled just through food. So like red meats, kale, any of the green leafies, those are always really good to turn to. Women tend to run low on protein. Again, it's a conversation to have with your doctor, but there's a myriad of ways to get that protein and get it into beans. There's some ready-made protein drinks out there that actually taste good and are low on sugar. Some of them taste great, and then you look at the sugar content, and you might as well drag over the sugar bowl and eat straight to the sugar.
I always call some of the smoothies, I call them like a cupcake in a cup, like not health food.
No, but it tastes so good. Tastes so good. And I think when it comes to like actually being on the trails, gels, some people like the gels, some are carb based. So I tend to run low iron. So in my pack, I've got carb based gels. I have applesauce. It's another favorite. Believe it or not, a lot of ultra runners have applesauce and they have it.
Like the baby pouches,
Yep,
the
and the
squeezable
baby
ones.
pouches.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, especially if you're going to be out there hiking for 6 hours, and I love them because they don't take up much space in your pack either.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I never thought of
So,
applesauce pouches, but I love apples and I know how good they are for me,
uh-huh.
right? Just the overall nutrition of it.
Applesauce is
Definitely.
good. Pre-cook some bacon.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and pre-cooked
Nice.
bacon. Put that in again, doesn't take much pack in your pack, but it's something a little bit more solid. Gummies are always great for a go-to. It's a cheese and beef jerky stick combo.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good one. So you're getting a little fat, a little salt, something a little solid, and again, doesn't take up much room in your pack. So it's kind of a broad general there for the nutrition.
Nice. I like that. You mentioned training times, and I just did a little bit of math. And so Mammoth March is in February,
Right.
and it's September now. So if you're new to that distance, you might want to start training now.
Yes,
Really.
because like I said, it's hilly. That one, that Dinosaur Valley gets a lot of people in trouble because they don't think Texas has that type of topography. They think
Mm-hmm.
it's flat out there, and then they get out there and they're like, "Oh, this has some
Right.
elevation out here."
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree. I was at Dinosaur Valley State Park a couple of months ago, and it was a beautiful park. It's great. But yeah, I was surprised. It has a combination of rock and dirt. So it
Yes,
wasn't too bad. There was a good combination there. But you also have stream crossings, and I don't know if the route has you crossing any of the streams. And maybe at that time of year, it might be low enough where you don't get your feet wet. But when we were there, we had to cross a pretty good stream and you either had to change into water shoes or you just had to go right through it. Can you share a story about an athlete that you've coached that surprised themselves with what they accomplished?
And I had an athlete, she just finished the Habanero 50K. It was her second time to do it. When we originally met and had our conference, I knew that she had the physical capability. I knew that she had the mental part, but we were going to need to take the two and put them together because she had sustained a previous injury about a year or 2 years ago. And it had been almost a year, a little over a year since she had last raced. And her last race was at Chevron. And it was really frustrating for her because she had what we call the paddy wagon was on her the whole time. And so it was really frustrating for her.
What's the
So
paddy wagon?
that is, you are on the clock, and if you can't meet the next mile marker at a certain time, they pick you up. Your race is
So you're like at the caboose and they're going to
yes.
take you off the course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have been there myself when I was running the Chevron. I think it was my second one. And it is frustrating. It is demoralizing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you're just like, so that's kind of what led her to also try trails. She's like, I'm not looking to go fast. She's like, I just want to come out here and have a good time. But she also had some recurring plantar. So we knew when we put her plan together, we were going to have to address the previous injury, address the plantar. She had a job that kept her on her feet. And so it just was so great to watch her hit the mile markers. When she hit that 22 and 18 mile mark, she was so happy. She was so excited for herself to be able to see that she could still do this. Then on race day, it didn't go exactly to plan, but because we had worked on both mental and physical, she was fantastic out there on course. I saw her a few times. She's like, "Yep, I'm just walking it." She's like, "It's going to be longer than anticipated." But I loved seeing her photos. They were out there eating a snow cone. They were laughing, they were joking. And so she was able to take the training and then just pivot it and still have a good time. It was so cool because it was her boyfriend's first trail race. Habanero seems to be a lot of people's first. So he did his first trail race at 13. So he was super stoked. She got her 50K. And so it was just so awesome to see her hit these mile markers and then for her to have such a fantastic running event on race day. It was so great to see that.
Very cool.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, there's so much walking, and especially out at Habanero because that's a 6.2-ish mile loop, but you've got about three of that is like sand. And some of that is so thick, you are better off walking than trying to run through it. It
Oh,
just,
goodness. Sand
yeah.
is my least favorite surface. Out of all the surfaces that are out there, I would say I grumble the most through sand.
I don't know of any runner that is like throwing glitter when they see sand. Most of them just, we all, especially like this was my seventh habanero. I mean, we know what's out there and we just kind of, you just kind of go to like a dark place and you're like, the sand is what the sand is going to be. And you just move through it. That's all you can do.
It's these things that pull everybody together and
Exactly.
everybody's grumpy at the same thing.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about foot care. So
Okay.
foot care is a huge part of hiking and ultra running. What are
Yes.
your best foot care practices to prevent blisters and injuries on long runs or long hikes?
So in prevention of foot injuries, you absolutely have to have time on your feet. You
Mhm.
can't just decide to go out your door and bust out a 13-mile hike if you've only gone 2 miles. You just realistically can't do that. You absolutely must have time on the feet to build up those muscles and just everything that goes with having time on the feet. You've got to build that up. If you think it's just going to be a flex and you're going to go with your group and hit that big number, you're probably going to finish it, but you're going to pay for it afterwards, especially when you're dealing with trails because you're just trails, you don't know the terrain. Like, Mammoth, that's a perfect example, right? You've got some dirt, you've got some rock. Habanero, the number one thing that Cal, which is the race director for that one, he tells people, he's like, take care of your feet early and often. So when you go for the prevention of like blisters and stuff, again, that's staying on top of it. I love NG socks. Those are the toe socks. It started wearing those probably 5 years ago, and I don't blister because they're little toe socks. So your toes aren't rubbing together like they are in a normal sock. And then NG, and I'm trying to think of some of the other brands out there, they have different thicknesses.
They
So
do. I have a thin pair of a Gigi and a thicker pair. I
yeah.
prefer the thinner pair and then do like double it up with another sock.
Yeah. So to me, if you're a heavy sweater, don't put on that thick sock because even if you don't blister, now your feet are staying constantly damp. Some ultra people love to pre-tape their toes individually. I tried it one time. I was like, let me make myself a guinea pig. Let me see if there's any value to this. And I'm like, this is really annoying to me. So I think that comes in conjunction with time on the feet, building towards the big distance. Try it in your long walk on Saturday. That's the day to try out the socks. Does this sock feel good? Is it too hot? Is it too thick? Does it annoy me? Because, some people, they're just certain materials, they just don't
They
feel.
get, yeah. I have
Yep.
a friend who gets annoyed with certain materials. Yeah,
If you know that it's going to be raining and you've got a long out and back in your pack dry socks. Your shoes are still going to be wet, but man, it's a mental game changer when you can dry your feet off and put some dry socks on. What's a good example from this year? Grasslands, put on by Blaze Trails, was an epic mud fest. Once that
oh
rain came
no.
through, it didn't stop. So you've got a balance game of at what mileage do you stop, dry your feet off, put some powder on them, and then put some dry socks on, and then go back out there. So if you feel a blister that is starting to come on, you need to stop. Look at the blister and make a quick diagnosis. Do I pop this now and then cover it? Because what you don't want it to do is pop while you're running or walking, because now sweat's going to get in it, it's going to burn, it's going to light on fire, and that can mess you up both physically and mentally depending on where that blister is. Some people blister in their arch, some people blister on the pads of their feet. I am seeing some pretty nasty blisters. And so you just want to stay on that. I know like some people are thinking, no, you never pop the blister. It's different when you're out there because, like I said, the last thing you want to do is have it pop while you're out there. When you're in your little world or when you can stop, you can cut away the skin, you can treat it with some ointment, and then you can wrap it and then put on fresh sock and then go. It's still going to probably hurt, but it's so much better than letting it do that in the shoe while you're out moving. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
take care of it early.
Yes.
Definitely. You feel
Yep.
those hot spots or you feel something going on, and definitely take care of it early.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. So, we talked a little bit about nutrition on the trail. You talked about different goos and like a beef stick or a beef and cheese stick and the applesauce. So nutrition can make or break an adventure. And I feel like we covered that already. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that? Like, let's say, with Mammoth in mind, what should people do nutritionally for that?
So you vary are much what you eat. It takes the body roughly 2 to 3 days to fully digest what you eat, regardless of your race, whether you're male or you're female or your age. That's just biology. It takes 2 to 3 days. So for me, if the big dance is 26 miles on Saturday, then that week, really the week before, find little ways where you can cut out some of the sugar. And that's really hard because sugar is like in everything, right? So just little ways. And then the week of Wednesday is that's my carb day. So, and then people think when I hear the word carb, they think, oh, it's got to be pasta or pizza. Now, it can be a hamburger and French fries, but you're just putting a little extra in your body. And then, Thursday, I really like to try to have like fish because of all the good protein and iron that comes from the fish and good veggies. Then Friday, which is the day before the race, You just want to have something that's just good and balanced, nothing heavy, and just keep doing what you've been doing. If you normally have oatmeal for breakfast, have oatmeal that morning. If you normally have toast and a banana, still have the toast and the banana. So it's so much more than just what you consume on race day. You've got to go backwards a little bit because everything that you do the week of impacts what you're doing that day. That week of, that's not the time to try a new recipe. Certainly not the night before is not the time to go try a new restaurant. You might be okay, you might not be okay. I had one of my friends, I forget where she went. It's where everybody else went. She ordered something she thought would be safe and she couldn't race the next day. She was so sick to her stomach.
Oh no.
So,
Darn.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like the week of is like like you just really want to dial in, and then the day of, try to keep your morning routine the same, and that'll help, especially if you're brand new, if you got some nerves or something. The last thing you want to do is change your morning routine. That's
Hmm.
gonna just kind of upset the stomach a little bit. If it's going to be warm, yours is in February, you don't, so you should be safe. But anything in Texas that starts in April, just we never know. It could be hot, could be cold. Have some electrolytes that morning. So instead of a second cup of coffee, have 1 cup of coffee. Go ahead and have a drink with some electrolytes in it. Even with your race being in February, that's still not a bad ideal to do that. So again, instead of reaching for a second cup, go ahead and have some electrolytes. And then just look at the course information and find out, is there going to be an aid station out there so that, you know, if you forgot your snacks, let's say, are they going to feed me or am I on my own? If they don't have one and your snacks are at the house, gas stations are a great place to come up with some snacks. I've been
Yeah,
there.
those works just great, right?
Yep.
If that's
So there's the day off, then there's the before getting to it so that you make sure that your body is fully ready for what you're fixing to put it through.
I like that. You mentioned the electrolytes instead of the second cup of coffee. So would that be pre-hydrating, like even the week before, make
Yes.
sure that you're hydrated and everything is,
Yes.
you got good stuff in your body so that you're able to perform to your best at that event or at that hike, whatever it is.
Yes, and there's some really good electrolyte brands that are out there in the ultra community. Scratch is a really good one. Tailwind is a great one. Some people like to use LMNT.
Mm-hmm.
That has, if you're prone to gut issues, I don't try that one like during the week because LMNT has an alternative sugar in it and it can lead to some gut issues for people that are sensitive with that. Normal
Gotcha.
person, they're probably perfectly fine, but that's another one that people like. I try to stay away from the sugar-free Gatorade or the sugar-free because those are alternative sugars. And again, you could potentially land into the same problem, having some gut issues. The last time I had straight Gatorade was probably, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. I can't drink this stuff anymore. It honestly makes my stomach a little sick. So Saturdays, that's great to try some different electrolyte drinks out and find out what works for you and what doesn't work before you get to race day.
What advice would you give your athletes, especially women, about staying safe and confident on the trails? Because sometimes when you get out there on some of these longer distances, whether it be a hike or an ultra, there's nobody around.
Safety is always paramount. I think it's important that if it's a non-race, that somebody has the ability to be able to follow you. Strava has a great one. Garmin has a great one. Strava, my husband and I, we played around. If we're not in a super forested area, he can get to me pretty spot on. Like Huntsville State Park, for example, he was
Mm-hmm.
able to, I think within about a half mile, he was able to get to me. So, know your route before you go so that somebody has it. You want to make sure that, like some women, it's what you're comfortable with. Are you comfortable with pepper spray? Are you comfortable with the BFF? And there are defense classes that they teach you how to carry that so that you can quickly get to it and permit and all of that stuff. You also need to know where you're running at, right? So You need to have a map. You don't want to get out there and get lost. You need to know when does the sky break and when does the sky go to sleep. So if you know that the sun sets at 6 p.m., you don't want to be in the middle of the forest and you have no headlamp. Nobody knows where you're at. And now you're trying to navigate with a cell phone in a super dense forested area. In Huntsville State Park at nighttime can be very confusing to get back out of there. And then when it comes to like race day, I don't know too much about the hiking community, so I'll speak in reference to the trail community. I actually feel really safe. I never have had an issue. The directors are always super, super hard on safety. Everybody is looking out for everybody. And whether if it's a non-race, I will also say change your route up. Don't always run the same route. Don't always run the same time, especially like during the midweek runs where I run at. Somebody's going to have to be waiting a really long time because my route is never ever the same. It is constantly different. And so you just, know your cars, know your people. If you run on the same trails a lot, you get to know the people. You get to see who some of the regulars are. It's the same mom and stroller. It's the same dad and girl. You see and recognize all of these things. So just be aware of who and what's around you.
Perfect. Being aware of your
Exactly.
surroundings. Like you said, be aware of, it's the mom with the stroller. Who are your regular people who you see out there on your routes? Do they look like they're supposed to be there? Open up your eyes and look around.
Yes. Yeah. And don't always be, if you love to run with music, that's fine, but you need to be unplugged with one ear as well. You need,
Definitely. Otherwise, you can't hear the birds chirping.
I've seen them out on the trails. I'm like, just unplug for a little bit.
What is one piece of gear you would never leave home without?
My camelback. Even
Oh,
when I'm riding
yeah.
my back, it's my bike, it's my camelback. My
Yeah.
husband laughs at me. He's like, you in that pack. I'm like, it's everything. It's got all the pockets and the zippers, and I have to.
I'll even wear it to the store.
If I could, look, if
It's
I
just
thought I
so
could
much
get
easier.
everything fits, everything fits.
Exactly. And then your arms are available to do whatever you
Exactly.
need to do. Yes. Ultra running is as much a mental game as it is a physical game. What mindset practices keep you pushing forward when the miles get tough?
So my very first 50 miler, Rob Goyen, was the race director then. I remember the start of that race, everything was not going right. I had tripped over a wire that somebody had not lit up. So I'm standing there with scraped knees. I broke the rule. I took a Tylenol before. And I actually bought the shirt from Trot, but what Rob said, and it has stuck with me, is burn the ships, protect the island. So anytime a race starts to get hard, I just think of him and that speech of burn the ships, protect the island. And even if I have to stop and walk and just kind of recenter myself for a minute, that's what I tell myself, burn the ships, protect the island.
I don't know what that's referencing. You're going to have to fill me in. What does that mean? Burn the ships, protect the island.
So you are the island, and the ships are, it's any of that mental head trash. I'm not good enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm too slow. Oh my gosh, the sixth person just passed me. I should have already been back to my world and I'm still 20 minutes from my world. This hurts. This is going too long. And so those are all the ships. You need to
Okay.
protect the island.
That negative self-talk.
Yep. Yep.
Definitely. Definitely. Now, so I just finished, it was a hut to hut hike over in the San Juan Mountains in Colorado, and it was
Oh,
really a
nice.
great hike. At one point, we went from at around 9,000 elevation up to 11,000 elevation. And we looked at one of the girls' watches and it said it was 175 floors. And we were huffing and puffing on our way up. One of the questions that I asked everybody as we were huffing and puffing on the way up, it's like, what is your, like, what are some of your tricks that you do in your mind while you're kind of just slow going all the way up? Because it was a lot of up and it was all switchbacks and all of that. And my go-to, I say a little nursery rhyme in my head. I just do one potato, two potato, three potato, four. And I just get in this almost this mantra, and my mind just gets lost in it. And I just breathe and step and breathe and step. Do you have any little tricks like that you do?
All right, so for me, you'll see it a lot on my posts and stuff and my Instagram photos. I'll just stop and take a random photo of whatever is by me. And it's just the taking a photo because you're stopping, you're unplugging, and then you're like, I'll find something else to take a photo of. I might spend the next 10 minutes walking, taking the most random photos of nothing in particular. And then your brain just kind of resets. And then it's like, okay, this isn't so bad now. And look at this. We're already another mile in. And then you just go. So that for me, especially like when, because we just wrapped up habanero training. So there's been a lot of heat training. And we haven't, Texas has been really nice with the heat this year, but the humidity in the morning has been just awful.
Mhm.
And so I have just found you just do something that's the opposite of what you're currently doing, and it just lets your mind kind of reset. So
I like that. What would you say to someone who is curious but afraid to try distance running or even a longer hiking distance?
I would say, to me, even the most inexperienced person can do a 10K, the 6.2-ish miles.
Uh-huh.
You can walk it. And the course times for that are so if the race starts at that distance, I think it's like most of the time it starts like till 8. You have till like 6 o'clock in the evening to
Oh,
do
wow.
those six
That's a long
miles.
time.
And it's great because there's no pressure whatsoever to do your thing, just to get out there to walk. And that's the thing. You just got to immerse yourself in it. I think sometimes people overcomplicate it. They're like, oh my gosh, I see all these photos. I got to have all this gear. No, you don't. Just have some water bottle with you. You'll have aid stations out there on a 10K. You're going to have at least one aid station, and so you can refill your water. You can grab a snack. I mean, where else can you pay for a race fee, have some snack, meet some new people, immerse yourself in Mother Nature, and collect a cool, wooden medal when you're done running it? And so that to me is just do it. Just find a 10K. And if you're listening and you're like, there's no way I can do even three, then just do the 3 miles. And again, it's the same thing. Don't overcomplicate it. You can walk the whole thing. I think people associate ultra marathons with, oh my gosh, I have to run. That's the biggest difference between the road community and the trail community, is that your split times, your watch times, for people trying to get to certain races, yes, it matters. Otherwise, everybody's just out there to have a good time, enjoy the experience, meet some new people, have some snacks while they're out on course, and finish the race. And I think people don't realize that it's as simple as that sometimes.
I agree 1000%. I love that you said have some snacks on the trail because that's the thing that I find is amazing of the trail running community. When I did the Rocky Raccoon, I couldn't believe the snacks that were on the
Oh, yeah.
trail. And they're good, they're good healthy snacks in a way. Like you can have shots of Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper or whatever, but then there's bacon on the trail. There's pickles on the trail. There's just all sorts of
Yes, there is.
yeah, it's not just, like you do a 5K fun run and all you get is water and maybe a little bit of Gatorade. But
Right.
then when you're out on a trail run, you get these amazing arrays of snacks and the
Oh, yeah.
volunteers are amazing. I think someone was out there making quesadillas one year and it's like, what is that?
Oh, yeah. When I volunteered at Rocky this year, we had chicken broth going, mashed potatoes,
Yeah.
bacon, and pancakes. We started that at about 3-ish in the morning. That was a big hit because it must have like spread out there on the trail. They were like, we heard this aid station has pancakes.
Everybody's looking forward to the pancakes.
Oh, yes.
Uh, that's so fun. Okay, so here we're ready for some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So this is just a fun section of, either this or that kind of thing. So what's your favorite trail snack other than pancakes?
I think the one I always go to, it's the applesauce. It
Okay.
can be stupid degrees outside, and I am still looking for the applesauce. Even at habanero, I'm just like, I need some applesauce. I like my applesauce.
Do you prefer early mornings or late nights on the trail?
I prefer early mornings. You get to
Yeah.
see the sky open up, and it's so beautiful.
What is your most memorable trail you've ever run or hiked?
I think so far my most memorable would be Wildflower out at Bastrop State Park.
Oh, why is that?
The views once you get to the top are just stunning. It is so beautiful out there. Cal has made some tweaks to the course, so this year we got to run some new trails, and that the state park just doesn't disappoint. There's just not a bad spot on that trail, and I love it because it's challenging. You've got switchbacks, you're up, you're down, you're flat, I mean, it gives you a little bit of everything. But I think right now that as far as like scenery, that's probably the most beautiful one that I've ran.
Nice. I've actually had that one in on my bucket list for a little while. I might have to do that one and maybe have an arrow too, but I'm mostly hiking it. I'm not running. Maybe I'll run a little bit, but not much, especially through the sand. And I'm going to be grumpy. Promise. Do you prefer coffee before a run?
So I am a tea drinker. Love
Are
this.
you?
Yeah, I drink hot tea, and I will still have my cup of hot tea before I go out.
Do you have a favorite type of tea?
I love the teas from Tea Spot. They're an online tea store. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to my tea. And so they have some really good different types of breakfast teas. Some are dark, some are light. And so it just kind of whatever mood I'm in the morning. But in the morning, it's some type of breakfast tea.
What is one song or mantra that gets you through tough miles?
I mean, there's the photography, but it comes from Courtney to Walter, where it's just one more mile.
Just one more mile.
She was because she's like, she's like, it's hard in this mile, but she's like, the next mile will be different. And so and again, it just goes with resetting. Sometimes you just need to stop, you just need to walk, you need to, if you've got music, turn everything off. Just turn everything off and just walk. And sometimes it takes 5 minutes. Sometimes there was a race. It took me a good like 15 minutes. It was just hot and the mind was really just kind of starting its own little dumpster fire and just walking for 15 minutes completely unplugged. And then my brain was like, okay, let's go.
Do you have a dream race or a dream adventure?
There's so many out there. Like on my bucket list, obviously behind me is, Badwater's on my bucket list. I really want to get out to the Barkley Fall Classic. I am completely just, I don't know what it is with Laz races, especially the Barkley. It's its own animal. It's purposely designed to make you fail. It's not designed to make you succeed. Some people, when they read the rules and stuff, they would be like, why on earth would that be on your bucket list of races? And so I think that like right now, like the Barkley Fall Classic, I really want to get up to that one. And I'd like to do a destination trail race. So destination trail races are really cool. They're mostly 5 days and mostly held in Colorado, and I think Arizona has one. And you're just moving through different points of the state. Each day you have a certain set of miles that you're doing in a certain location. You get back to camp, you wake up, and you go out the next day. I think
Right. Yeah.
those would be really cool to do.
What do you think is harder, the first mile or the last mile?
I think the first mile, you're just trying to get your brain to get engaged with what it's getting ready to do. The last mile, the brain knows. We are at the end, whether it's a training run or the race, the brain just kind of automatically knows this is this is the end. But to me, it's the first mile.
Right. The last mile, it kind of reminds me of like horses coming back to the barn. It's like, okay,
Yes,
now I'm excited. I know I'm almost done, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Monica. I appreciate you being on the podcast today. Is there anything else that you wanted to add? How can people get a hold of you? And if they wanted to ask you any questions or if they wanted to have a consultation, what would be the process in that?
So they can reach me by email, rosecoach at gmail.com. And then they can find me on Facebook. The business page is there. If they want to see more in depth of what it is that I do, that's a great resource there. I'd be happy to talk with them. And thank you so much for letting me come on. This has been super fun.
I
So,
hope you enjoyed it.
yeah.
Good, good. So, what is your business page on Facebook?
So it's the name of the company is Beyond Limits Coaching. Facebook has me as Monica Rose Running Coach.
So, Monica Rose Running Coach.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So they can get a hold of you through there. Yes. And then you're
Yes.
also on Instagram. So if they look up Monica Rose on Instagram, they should be able to find you there too.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Very cool. And then you said your email, mrosecoach@gmail.com.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on the podcast with me.